Welcome back to Autism Live. We're very excited because we, as I said at the start of the show, we're here with somebody who's a force. Kamina Ballard-Dawkins is here. She's an autism mom. She's one of the co-authors of one of the newest toolkits on puberty and adolescence for Autism Speaks. She is a great voice and has declared that she's on the job for making sure that underserved populations, that we understand the plight of that and that we move forward and that we get to some progress. And we talked a little bit about the fact that this is personal to her because she is an autism mom, yes. The mom of a 13-year-old girl. And let's face it, you know, it's different with girls. And I think we have to stop denying that, right?
Oh my God. Like, can I just,
yeah.
like, let out one real quick for that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, having a 13-year-old girl, period.
Exactly.
And tough.
And pun included there. But, right? But it is different for girls. The hormones are different, and we know that the makeup of autism is different. There are recent studies that have shown that, yes, there are a whole lot less girls, but when girls are diagnosed with autism, how it affects them is different and often more severe than it is for the boys. But the issues are different, and the support that grows and continues to grow tends to be very male-centric because the males outnumber them 1 to 5. Depending on the study that look at, it could be more than that. But so I always feel for parents who have daughters that are on the spectrum because I know how alone I felt, and yet there were a million other moms who had boys on the spectrum.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, about, you know, what it's like as a mom with a girl and how you saw finding resources and what it's been like for you to find your community.
So, slippery slope, Shannon.
Yes.
Tough. I think to really dig into this question, I must first state to you that being a young, what I call multi-ethnic African-American female with autism is an underserved population.
Oh, yeah.
She is a demographic within a demographic that is completely underserved. Not completely not served, but just extremely underserved.
Yeah.
And so when I say underserved population, people really need to put in perspective what those disparities are. What are we actually talking about? Girls are underserved.
Yeah.
No matter what their color, socioeconomic background, or any of that, they're a girl.
Yeah.
And most of the time, there's issues with getting diagnosis because of them being verbal, or, you know, sometimes that can happen. That happened with me. My story is such that I'd like to share with you and just really be transparent about this, so in hopes that it will help someone out there really understand. My daughter was diagnosed at 4, but I fought for my diagnosis for 2 years, being told that I was a crackhead parent, a bad parent. My daughter just needed a whooping, and that it was a behavioral thing. She didn't have a dad in the home. I mean, if you can make it up, it was something negative, it came at me. And so I fought for her diagnosis, and finally getting a diagnosis that was given at 4, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for her to have that early care that she needed. And she fell behind. She fell behind in even getting the proper interventions that she really needed until she was about 8.
We have a picture of you with your daughter up right now. It's a beautiful picture. What a
there
beautiful...
she goes. And I still look the same, but guess who looks different? She's even taller than that now. She's about 5'11".
Wow.
And, oh yeah, she's my big girl. And so she calls me little baby mommy.
There you go. There you go.
Just so you put that out there. She's very tall.
And I hated to interrupt you, but I didn't want to let it go by that there was a beautiful picture.
Thank you so much. I made sure that I show my real life and my real story so that people know that where I'm coming from. And, and so I'm so proud of her, because moving forward in that story, around 9, we started experiencing major elopement, major aggression. My kid is a runner.
Yeah.
Aggression, elopement, and property destruction were her major 3. And so it wasn't unlike my household to experience psych calls or 5150 calls and everything. And I was very ashamed of telling this for a long time. But hey, I know there's other people that are going through that are not willing to say that. And so, you know, I made the toughest decision of my life to have my baby girl go to a residential. And that is an outpatient therapeutic residential it's a non-medical facility. So it's more rooted in like a group home where there's other girls there. But even with that, there's issues that, there's a mixed bag. Not all of them have autism and everything, but, and it's just been a really tough situation to get her the help that she needed at the sacrifice of me tucking her in at night.
Yeah.
And being that mom that I always wanted to be. And I've gotten over the random crying, but I haven't gotten over the full-on fighting for this population and these children, because that's how much they matter to me.
Yeah.
And I see what's going on with them. And now, even in that time, we were given a double. I have an identical twin sister, and we have a group together, K Diva. So we perform together. We're entertainers, and so we already had this life and this business together and everything. And then just 3 short years ago, we shared something else. My sister had a son, and her son was diagnosed with autism, and he was nonverbal for 3 years. And we got in there, and of course, everything that my daughter didn't have, my nephew was gonna have, right?
Right.
So I got in there, and just as much as she's, playing with I'm down on the floor and helping him talking, so he's fully verbal now. Yeah. And my daughter, now that she's 13, has become her own advocate. She has become a self-advocate. She goes to each and every one of her IEPs, every one of her IPPs. She can tell you what she wants. She can be like, hey, are you ABAing me? I know you're doing it.
I love that.
So I've created this force of her own where she is actually able to just stand up for herself when it counts. Now, that's not to say we're out of the dark or anything. It's just really difficult being 13. Got a lot of pressure. She just finished the 8th grade. She's going into the 9th grade. And we're still vocational track, so we're working on that. You know what I mean? But it's just, she's blossoming at her own rate, and I'm always there. It's no less of a job. Trust me, people. Yeah. But I at first was really judged for my decision to put her in residential, but I then realized that it was a blessing from the heavens to be able to get her the care that she so desperately needed in order to become that blossoming adult that I know she's going to be.
Right.
And it's still tough every day. Every day is tough.
And I want to talk a little bit about that, because I think, back in the day of autism, back in the early days of autism, that's what everyone was told. You have to put them in a residential. Yeah. More and more people are coming forward and telling those stories. Yeah. That we have somebody who works here that comes on the show from time to time, Bryce Myler, whose son is working a job, graduated from college, drives his truck. He's doing so well. He's just such a light on this planet. And he's in his early 20s. When he was diagnosed, the person said to Bryce, you need to put him in an institution and walk away. At 5. That was just, so it's not even that long ago. So there's all that negative memory that's attached to going to any kind of a residential. And I think a lot of times the autism community comes to that kind of a decision with that baggage and put it on you. Because the truth of the matter is that I think, and I learn every day about parenting, but I think that the whole thing with parenting is being big enough, being strong enough, right? To do what's best for your child, not you. And I think there's a whole lot of people who judge when a child or a teenager or an adult has to go to a residential site and thinks, oh, this is the parent going, I can't do it anymore.
I've heard that directly.
I'm sure.
I've heard that directly.
I'm sure.
We want parents who've gone through it and come out the other side, and they say you've given up or you've let go. But you know what? That is changing.
Yeah.
From when she first went to residential, and there's been a lot of issues inside residential that I won't disclose, but it's not a walk in the park.
No.
There's a lot of things that happen in residential. My daughter has been bit by a dog in the face. Oof. She's been burned. She's been there's a lot of things that happen in residential that are not pretty for this particular child. what happens is I feel like I've just used all of this as my motivation to go out and help other children.
Yeah.
Because when you're just because I'm dealing with this in adolescence, first of all, does not mean other families won't have to deal with it in adulthood.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? There's so many other cases that our children need to, and our adults who are real people, I will say again, living, breathing, worthy people,
Right.
will need this advocacy, not only just to advocate for themselves, but for the family to have a great quality of life with that living, breathing adult person.
Yeah.
So I was told when she was younger, all of those things, but there was then other people who would come to me, who just angels, just would come to me and say, you know what, you got to do this, Mom, if you want her to be independent.
Yeah.
If you want her to not be, you can't baby her. You can't. You're doing everything. You're this person. You're doing that. And I've done a lot of things trying to avoid that. But then when I finally made that decision, my daughter took off. She's like,
Yeah.
she's blossoming.
Yeah.
She's growing. She's writing books. She's drawing because she's an artist. She can draw her own characters. And I was like, oh my God, you're going to be the first author to make their own illustrations, draw the book. She has so much going for her. I can't tell you how proud I am of this kid.
Yeah.
And I feel like when she does come home, because she comes home all the time,
Right.
she's always at the house. You know,
Right.
she's always home. She's never going to not be home. She's always saying, you know, she wants to spend time with the family and do things like that. And so we have a better relationship when she comes home. So I do want to give people the positives of that. She's
Yes.
very independent and much more life skills. So I know she's going to be a great adult. I
Yeah.
know it now.
Yeah.
And it looks dark before, but it looks bright now. And so if there's anyone who's contemplating that decision,
Yeah.
please see it all the way through for what it is. If you
Yeah.
know that your child is beyond your scope of care, there's broken windows in the house.
Yeah.
The police are constantly getting calls.
Yeah. It's
Make that decision.
it's a hard thing to come out of that denial, because I
Of course.
think people know that there's going to be judgment on the other side of it too.
Mhm.
But how have you gotten through the judgment part of it, of people thinking that they know what your situation is when they clearly don't?
Easy, quick answer.
Okay.
Easy, quick answer. Parent power.
Okay.
I am a proponent of talking to other moms and dads and families and caregivers with children on the spectrum, because we learn from each other,
Yeah.
which is the reason why I believe in family-centered care, family and patient-centered care, collaboration. And that's the reason why I'm with the ATN network, because they also believe in that as well. And I give them a lot of credit for that, once again, like I said, because I get a chance to talk to other moms, that same mom who helped me write that puberty toolkit, and all the other moms that I have in my access, that I can say, hey, I'm going through this. And I can cry with them, and I can laugh with them. And they understand my life, and they do not judge me, and they know that I'm working as hard as I can, even if she's not with me every day.
Yes.
And so that's how we make it. And that's the reason why I say it's a global community, because there's another mom in Africa who feels
Right.
the exact same way, that they have the same hopes, wishes, and dreams for their daughter
Yeah.
and or son.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's an easy answer, and that's the reason why I'm so excited to be on your show, because when we connected as parents.
Oh yeah.
As moms
Oh,
first,
yeah.
you know, and I really feel extremely good about making sure that I'm that light, and I continue to live in that light and stop judging myself.
Exactly. That
Because
was going to be my next
I
question. Is
stopped
how
judging
to?
myself.
Yeah.
I did the best I could with what I had at the time until I learned more.
Yes.
It's like when you don't
Yes,
know
ma'am.
what you know, how did you know what you didn't know?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's like, I'm like, I didn't know, but then I learned. But then my job then is to take it that step closer to teaching other people, and that's my purpose.
I love it. The phrase that I sometimes have to put right on the inside of my head so that I see it before I see anything else is, other people's opinions of my parenting is none of my business.
I think we're making leeway with that whole thing. I think if you talk to an aunt mom now, or any moms, CP, anybody, they'll be like, look,
Yeah.
I am doing the best that I can.
right.
And you know what I always tell them? Give yourself more credit for what you're
Yeah.
doing, because,
Yeah.
and that's something I never did. But I'm doing it now,
Good.
because I give myself more credit for what I actually did. You know, it was those silent things that I did, just playing with my child, that I didn't know was a therapy in itself.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
so I tell other moms that all the time, like, give yourself, and I want to tell your viewers that, give yourself more credit for
Yeah.
what you're doing, because you know this is not for the faint of heart. Like
It isn't. Well, and so my last question, because we're really running out of time here, but we've gone
Okay.
over. I apologize for keeping you longer, but it's so
No.
lovely. But so here you are, you've got this twin sister, and we all have a problem comparing in life, right?
Yeah.
And I have twin nieces, and
Uh-oh.
like I'm sure that like their whole lives they were getting compared to each other, and it just is like even among sisters there's that thing going on. But then when you're twin, you're identical twin, I'm sure it just goes up. And we all know that autism parents, we have this thing that we tend to do where we judge our kid against other people's kids. So how like just the nuances, I think you got to write a book, the two of you together, about the fact that so here you are, you've got a daughter,
Yeah.
she's got a son, totally different, like you can't even compare those. But your daughter, I'm sure at some point, because your daughter was verbal and your sister's son wasn't, that she had to have been looking and going, I wish that I had that going on. But then now her son's talking and your daughter went through a phase where things were really like there's no way to
Here's
compare.
the beauty the beauty of being a twin is you're really so interconnected, and I'm just really blessed to have that as a gift and have her as my sister, because the wonderful thing there is that she went through all of that with me, with my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I returned the favor with her son, and we are the favor, the total life. Not even a favor, because I'm still there. And he is beautiful, and my daughter's beautiful, and they're beautiful in their own way. And we make sure, my twin sister, and I make sure that we keep the cup half full at all times.
Okay. So you're not comparing.
Not comparing, but helping each other.
Okay. Well, I'm impressed.
Well,
you
thank
you
you.
guys are, I think a lot of us would have a hard time
No,
not comparing
we're
and going,
doing
well, you got this going for you, but I got that.
Fingers crossed. We're doing
All right.
great.
We have a lot to learn from all of you. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you for letting me just be here and talk.
Oh my goodness, it's such a treat. And if people want to know more about you in particular, if they want the toolkit, we already said go to autismspeaks.org, click on the resources tab, and then find the toolkits. And we've got there's a picture of you with your daughter on the cover of it. It's the Puberty and Adolescence Resource Tool Guide. Really amazing, and you'll see all the other toolkits as well. They're free, so you can't be like, oh, I can't afford it. That's not how that works. But if they want to know more about you, where should they go?
There's a couple of different places they can go. I want to say kdivas.com. That is the name of my sister and I's group.
Okay.
And that's kdivas.com. And they can also email me personally for the autism stuff at kaminaspeaks@gmail.com.
Okay.
Kaminaspeaks.com is going to be forthcoming.
All right. I look forward to that. You
Well,
are a
thank
force.
you.
I'm so glad that you're the right person to be going to Washington and representing.